Hello everybody, it's Josie here. I'm going to be doing a bit of an author spotlight today. So the author I'm going to be talking about is Emma Donoghue. Now Emma Donoghue is most famous, probably for most people, for writing the book Room, which was later turned into a film. Now my spotlight is going to be kind of on Emma Donoghue's other work because Room's very well known. And I think a lot of people will know it and will have watched the film. Room was nominated for a Man Booker Prize as well. It's a very famous work, but I've actually read quite a few of her other books. So I wanted to throw a little bit of a spotlight on Emma as an author, and maybe talk about some of her other work that people aren't that familiar with, that they might want to try out. So Emma she is Irish Canadian, so she was born in Dublin, I believe, and she is an author, a playwright, a screenwriter. She does all wonderful literary writing things. Emma also, in a lot of her works that I'm going to discuss, focuses on queer relationships between women. Emma's partner is a woman, so it is she writes sort of own voices when it comes to queer literature and female romances, and that's obviously an element that I'm drawn to in Emma's work. It's something that I love, and I think certainly the books that I love the most are the ones that kind of really focus on those female relationships. I've read a few of Emma's books, and some I really like, and which are the ones that I'm really going to talk about today. One, I have to admit, I DNF'd, which was The Wonder, which is interesting because a lot of people really like The Wonder, and it was one that I wasn't enamored with. And I think the reason why was because it is very much kind of literary fiction. I felt like it was very slow, not literary fiction, historical fiction. And I felt that it was a little bit slow and I wasn't really getting very much out of it. It just wasn't my favourite book that I'd read. But these ones that I'm going to talk about today really are my favourites, and I will tell you why and why I think you should read them. So I'm going to pick up my stack of books. And these are the ones. So I'm going to go in order of really as how I like them, how much I like them. So the first one that I managed to find actually in a charity shop, which I was really happy about, is this one here, Touchy Subjects. So Touchy Subjects is a short story collection. First of all, a gorgeous cover, and that's really what drew me, besides the fact that it's an Emma book, but that cover is just beautiful. So what this is a series of short stories kind of focusing almost on the cycle of life. So when you open it up, you have the first kind of section is called Babies, then Domesticity, Strangers, Desire, and Death. And you've got short stories that kind of fit that pattern. So obviously in the babies part, you've got short stories about pregnancy and women that are pregnant or want to be pregnant. Domesticity about, married life, about life being with a partner. Strangers is interesting, is meeting of people. Desire is very much, as it says on the tin, so it focuses on sexual desire and love. And then death, a kind of death, self-explanatory. As with any short story collection, I think there are going to be, it's rare, at least for me, that I find a short story collection that I love everything in it. With this one, there were stories that I really liked. There were stories that I wasn't that enamored with. However, overall, Emma's writing is beautiful, as always. She's a fantastic storyteller and she's a fantastic writer. The stories that I like the most, probably no surprise here, is the ones that focused on queer relationships within the book. But this collection has relationships of all types. So it has queer, but it also has a lot of straight relationships. And like I said, about motherhood, about being married, about family, about desire, about, relationships. All of those aspects of human life are contained in it. So if you like that sort of thing, if you like that exploration of relationships and the way humans interact, then this would be one for you. Then the next one I've got here is Frog Music. So Frog Music, weirdly, a lot of people described this book as weird to me before I read it, and I don't really understand the weird aspect. Maybe it's the narrative, because it does flick, and I don't know why people thought it's weird. So this is set in San Francisco, yeah, in 1876. And you've got a group of people at like a living together. So you've got a showgirl and these two men that live together. One is her boyfriend and one is the friend. And she's a showgirl, she dances. And then she meets a woman, kind of a mysterious woman. She reminds me a little bit of, if you've seen the series Gentleman Jack, because she dresses very masculine. She kind of goes about town, doing her own bidding. People kind of talk about her. So there's sort of stories about her and, you know, what she's done. And our main character is fascinated by her. And they strike up kind of a friendship, and things start to happen and unravel, and her relationship with her boyfriend, that starts to unravel. I'm going to give away more of this, but yeah. I think one of the criticisms leveled at it was that there was French in the book. That doesn't bother me. I've read many books where you've got foreign languages in it. I don't think it was overwhelming. I don't think it had any... there was no problems there. I liked the story. I think it had a good almost thriller element to it. You wanted to know what was going on. You know, the mysterious sort of Gentleman Jack lady character, I really loved her. I liked the relationship between the two women. You know, again, there was some mystery to that woman, and, you know, are these things people are saying about her really true? Are they not? I loved the setting of San Francisco in the 1800s. I loved the kind of musical dancing setting. I really like this book. And I know it's not one of her most famous or probably most liked books, but I really liked it. And I think if you like elements like that, give this one a go. Then the next one is this book over here, and this is, I think this might be her first, if not one of her first books, but I think it's her first book, and that's Stir Fry. So this one is set in Dublin in the early 90s, and the main character is a woman who is going off to university, and she's kind of, which I just love. I think there's not enough books that focus on university. There's loads of books that are high school related but not university, so I think that's great. And she's going off to university, and it's basically her moving into this house with these women, with these two women that live in the house, and kind of discovering herself, her sexuality, the people around her, kind of really opening her eyes to the world almost, and what happens in human nature and people, and relationships, and how complicated they can be. And I really like this book. I think it's really, really good, well written, interesting, like I said, an interesting time period, an interesting setting. I like reading something that, you know, it's set in Dublin, Ireland, and this sort of coming of age story almost, of the main character, which I really love. There's also queer relationship in this one, and yeah, I really, really like this one. And then my second favourite of all of Emma's books is this one over here. This is Hood. So again, I was lucky enough to pick this one up in a charity shop. And I think this is originally from Gaze the Word, so it was really cool to pick that up. So Hood is about a main character whose girlfriend has died. And she is grappling with, obviously, the aftermath of that, grappling with grief. You have the narrative switches back and forth between the present and her memories, and she's basically telling the story of, you know, how they met, their life together, you know, what their relationship was like, and also this idea of when someone's gone, you know, how we talk about them, how we remember them. You know, no relationship is perfect, and it's a relationship between two women, and it just is beautiful. It's heartbreaking. I was not expecting to love this book as much as I did, and I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it's so beautifully written, and it's so gut-wrenching at times. And, you know, if you've ever lost anyone, you know, dealing with that and dealing with those memories and dealing with sometimes the aftermath of things that you may find out about them after they have passed away. I really like this. I think this is really, really good. And then my favourite Emma Donoghue book is another short story collection. In a sense, it's this one. It's called Kissing the Witch, and the subtitle is Old Tales in New Skins, and that is, I think, a really apt description. So Kissing the Witch is basically taking fairy tales and kind of turning them on their head and making them more feminist and telling them from the perspective of the women involved in the fairy tales, because I don't necessarily think that's always the case. And also sometimes for the minor characters. And I actually listened to this on audiobook, which I really like the audiobook version of this. But what I loved about these tales was that although it is a collection, and you can read them all independently, it is a collection of short stories, but the way it works is that you have the fairy tale, and then you meet a character, and then the character, one of the other characters in the tale that you've just read, goes to the new character, tell me, how did you get here, or how did this happen, or something. And then that character will say, let me tell you my story. And then the next story is that character's kind of origin story, or how they came about, or what happened to them. And I really like that. There is a story with a queer element in the retelling of Beauty and the Beast in this, which I loved. But just generally that kind of really feminist, just focusing on the female characters, and maybe like I said, the characters that were maybe a bit maligned, that were on the sidelines, that you didn't really get to hear from. I really love this story. If you like kind of slightly twisted, turning fairy tales on its head, giving them a feminine perspective, giving them a slightly queer tint, this is the book for you. I love this. It's definitely being reread Halloween time. Yeah, it is awesome. Also, great cover. Awesome book. So yeah, so that is my small spotlight on Emma Donoghue. I hope you found that interesting. Like I said, I don't know how many people know that she writes a lot of queer literature. So if you're interested in that, then maybe pick up some of these books. Yeah, give her a go. See what you think. If you've read any of these books, if you've read Emma Donoghue, let me know. Let me know what you think. And if you have any recommendations, as always, please let me know and leave them in the comments. And thanks for listening. I will see you all again soon. Bye-bye.